Maryland. And I don't know if you've ever felt like this before, but I looked around the room and it was really hundreds of students, all men, except 3 of us. And we all looked at each other, kind of almost shell-shocked. So unfortunately, the days that you want to go under the radar and you just don't want, a lot of attention, I felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb. But for me, I was one of the lucky ones who heard about patent law when I was in high school. And so I had that objective in mind, and nobody was going to stand in my way. So here we are, 25 years later. We've seen a lot of improvement in the patent profession since I entered it as an associate in 1996. But I sat for the patent agent's exam with a BS degree before I had a law degree. But more progress, even though diversity is a hot topic, more progress needs to be made. So since diversity has become a hot topic, we have seen very little movement, especially in the patent bar. And for those of you who don't know, the legal profession is one of the least diverse professions in the United States. And when you look at the patent bar, that gets even narrower because of the STEM degree requirement. And so we actually have an analytics team, which Ayana is a part of, and we analyze the demographics of the patent bar. And we published an article in the American Bar Association Landslide magazine that looked at the statistics of the patent bar. And not surprisingly, the most underrepresented group of the patent bar were racially diverse women. That's all racially diverse women. In fact, there were more practitioners named Michael, and I'm sure you've seen all this, registered to practice before the United States Patent and Trademark Office than racially diverse women. When you narrow that group down to Black women, there are just a few hundred patent practitioners with the over 46,000 registered practitioners. So with that data in mind, our firm set out to make a difference. And that's how this program was born. And John's going to tell you a little bit more about that progress. But the numbers need to change. We need more Black women in our profession because we need more Black women innovators. We need more Black women in this profession because we need Black women to be part of the ecosystem, the innovation ecosystem of this country. It's such an important topic. We need more Black women to have access to the financial rewards that this profession provides because it does provide financial rewards. We need more Black women to be supported in this field. So not only that you just become registered to practice for the patent office, you stay in this field because we need you. We need you in this field. So we hope that this program can give you a foundation. I hope that you meet a lot of people. I hope that you build your network. We're going to give you so many tools. You're going to learn so much. I think your potential is unlimited in this field. Thank you for being here. We are so excited to have you. And I am going to hand it over to my co-chair of the Diversity Committee and founder of Harity and Harity, John Harity. The floor is yours, John.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is John Harity, as Elaine alluded to. I founded Harity and Harity along with my twin brother, Paul, back in September 1st, 1999. We thank you for participating in this Patent Pathways program. I hope that someday you're going to look back at this time participating in this program and find that this was the most impactful thing from a career perspective that you ever did. Ayana asked me tonight to answer a question that we commonly receive from people outside of the firm. Why is Harity and Harity creating diversity programs? And in particular, why did we create this program? The answer goes back to an event that happened on May 2nd, 2016. That date was one of the most important in my life and caused a fundamental shift at my firm. So I'd like you all to put yourselves in my shoes during that time period. You're doing everything that you should be doing to live healthy to at least 100 years old. Your ideal weight for your height and your age. You exercise 7 days a week, oftentimes multiple times a day. You've been following a very strict, healthy diet for decades. You don't smoke, you don't drink, you're low stress. And here you are on May 2nd, 2016, in your regular Monday night basketball game. You start to experience some unusual shortness of breath. You feel off, but you have no idea what's happening. You ask your friends to call 911 and then you pass out. You wake up 3 weeks later in a bed at the local hospital. That night on the basketball court, you suffer the worst type of heart attack that you can have. It's called the Widowmaker. How can something like this happen to you? You're too healthy. Healthy people don't have heart attacks. That's what I thought. Back on the basketball court that night, your friends call 911 and start performing CPR immediately. That keeps you alive until the paramedics arrive. When you arrive at the hospital, things get gravely worse for you. You have a reaction to the blood thinner they give you. It causes you to go into respiratory distress. Over the next hours and days, your family members are told on more than half a dozen occasions, you are not going to make it. So whoever they think wants to see you before you pass needs to get to the hospital immediately. The doctors put your odds of survival at 1,000,000 to 1. That's my story. That's what happened to me on May 2nd. And that event not only fundamentally changed me, but it also changed the focus of my firm. 5 weeks after I asked my friends to call 911, I was given a speaking valve and had the ability to speak for the first time. My twin brother, Paul, came on his first visit and we talked about a couple of things. First was how quickly we almost lost everything. It was literally a 5-minute time period that night where I went from feeling fantastic to dead on the floor. And then we turned the focus to, well, what are we going to do about it? And we both agreed at the hospital that we were going to convert the firm to serving others focused. And we decided while I was in that bed at the hospital that the first thing we were going to do was going to be charity focused. So I returned to work in September of that year. Paul had come up with the idea of us giving 5% of our profits to a group of partner charities. And we call that initiative Harity for Charity. Once we launched Harity for Charity, I pivoted our firm's serving others efforts to diversity. For decades, as Elaine had alluded to, the legal industry has essentially been running in place when it comes to diversity. No one knows what to do. I knew this was a problem that we not only wanted to address, but that we could make fundamental strides in the right direction. So we started creating innovative diversity program, including our Minority Firm Incubator, our Harity Academy, our Minority Firm Incubator 2.0, which is ongoing, our Think Tank series, and then most recently, our Patent Pathways program. So why Patent Pathways? As Elaine and I tried to engage others in the field, attorneys at other law firms, in-house counsel at big companies who speak a lot about how important diversity is to their companies. And we talked about our 4-year Minority Firm Incubator program. Everyone was hugely turned off. Too long of a time period. They didn't want to get involved with something that was going to take 4 years to develop. So once we launched that program, we came up with the idea of creating a program that would significantly move the diversity needle with respect to the most underrepresented demographic registered to practice before the Patent Office, your demographic. And not only do we want to do that, we want to do it really quickly. So Ayana volunteered to lead the efforts at my firm. And after a year of development, her and her team have brought us to where we are tonight. We're thankful that you are participating in this program. We are excited about the weeks and the months ahead. I hope someday you will look back at this time period and think that not only did it fundamentally change your career, but it changed your life, because this is an incredible field to be in. And the group of us that are on here who are in the field absolutely love it and couldn't think about joining a different or having a different career. Thanks. Ayana, back to you.
Thanks a lot, John. So now I would like to welcome our keynote speaker for the evening. Attorney Dawn Owens Ross is a registered patent attorney and licensed Florida attorney. Her primary focus is to help small businesses and entrepreneurs secure and protect their intellectual property rights and build a business legacy by creating adequate safeguards at the outset and establishing confidence through every transaction. Prior to starting Ross and Owens Ross Law with her partner in law and life, Dawn practiced law for boutique intellectual property firms and worked as a corporate trainer for a national IP software company. She is more than a protector of all things IP. She is also an inventor on 2 patents focused on powered and rechargeable ophthalmic devices, as well as she's a published author in nanomaterial-based non-invasive diabetes sensing technologies. When she's not practicing IP law, you can find her volunteering with organizations that support K-12 STEM outreach and education. But Dawn is not all work. Outside of the office and her philanthropic endeavors, she enjoys spending time with her family, tantalizing her palate with new cuisine, traveling, and networking. Please join me in welcoming Dawn Owens Ross.
Thank you so much, Ayana, for that wonderful introduction. The program in and of itself, just hearing about it, I couldn't help but want to jump in, delve in, and explain to you guys the importance of what you are about to embark on. It is, you are getting ready to not only change your own legacy, you are about to change the legacy of your community. And one of the things I want to talk about is why me, why you, and why now? So I'll start with telling you a little bit about my background and why it's important that you are sitting in these seats today through my story. And then we'll talk about a little bit about the importance of what you're about to embark on and what it means for us as a community and what it means for our community as a whole. So as Elaine talked about, sitting in a room, oftentimes going through school, I have a background in engineering and even in law, I would find myself, and I want everyone else to raise their hand, how many times, especially our women here who are in STEM, have found yourself as the only one or one of the few ones in the room. And you often feel intimidated. You sometimes don't know what to say. Me too. And it's a different feeling. And so feeling empowered right now, you're looking, as you look, I would say, look to your left and your right if we were in front of each other, but look at the different boxes. You are seeing your colleagues who are going to join you on this journey. So as I said, a little bit about me, I started off in engineering. And due to life decisions, I switched over to philosophy and finished that, and I went over to law school. And unfortunately, I had no idea. So I'm in law school. I had no idea what patent law was, what intellectual property law was. But unfortunately for our community, that is the story way too often. So I asked this question: when was the first time you learned about patent law? Before I continue, or IP law, was it your career, or were you in high school? High school, raise your hand. Okay, I got a few hands. And what about college? Okay, got one hand. Were you in your career and someone mentioned it and you potentially became an inventor on something? Are you in an R&D department and now it's a part of your remit? So you are sitting in a room where you're going to change that right now, that story right now. So going back to what I was saying, I was sitting in law school, and I remember after my first set of midterms, and I was like, oh my goodness, this gray and this is too much for me. I need some black and white. I like when 2 + 2 always equals 4. Take me back to engineering school where I understand all this gray is not for me. Right. And somewhere along the lines, I bumped my head and I said, you know what, I'm going to do engineering school and law school. So glad I didn't do that. However, I had a professor who saw what I was doing on campus. He saw that I was a single mom. He saw that I had already said I wanted to finish up my engineering degree. He saw the work that I was putting in on campus to establish organizations that would help me with my trajectory. And he said, I want you to come to my office and I want to talk to you after taking his course. And I'm going to ask this question. I want you to raise your hand if you two would be in the same position. Say, how would you like to make $1 million a case? I was like, sign me up. Anybody else will sign up for $1 million a case? I was like, sign me up. This is the area of law that I want to practice. Tell me more. And as Elaine mentioned, when she found out about that and she knew exactly what her trajectory was, I became interested. I was like, there's nothing that's going to stop me from learning more about this. And so when I initially started, I started for the title and the finances. But as I have gone on this journey, I do it for the purpose of my community, to serve, to empower, to create and establish opportunities where there were not opportunities before. And so after I had no idea what it was, so I did my homework. And I remember sitting at my first AIPLA conference. And when I did that, I looked around. I was intimidated. I didn't know what to do, guys. I didn't know how to initiate conversation, but I kept going. I kept finding mentors. There were few and far in between. I'm telling you, this journey on patent law has taken me to South Carolina, a family trip. Mom and dad got all in the car. We traveled so that I could sit with someone, another Black patent attorney, who could explain to me the difference between the different types of applications so that I could sit for the bar. I would scour LinkedIn and I would look for people who, I would put in the search parameters of patent attorney, electrical engineer, because the electrical engineers finding Black females who are even in that field is few and far in between, but I kept going. And so as I kept going, I realized this seat at the table can't be only for me. It can't be this hard. And then I started to realize also that it was important that I empower others to learn before I learned, to actually encounter and understand this topic before I did, when I was deep into my career, so they could continue and start to build this path before then. And so, as I said, it wasn't an easy journey, but it was empowering to continue to forge ahead and to learn. So you may say, well, Dawn, why did you decide to keep going? Because I realized what my purpose was. It was to educate. It was to empower other Black businesses to understand, and so they could understand the importance of intellectual property. We may not realize it, but intellectual property is the new civil rights movement. You are getting ready to embark on a journey that will enable people to have ownership, and that's civil rights. You are getting ready to help businesses. You're getting ready to help. I saw someone with their kids in the camera. You're getting ready to change their trajectory with what you're about to embark on, because you're going to help them identify. So part of it, as we all know, our community has always had ingenuity, right? We've always been innovators. So the problem is not necessarily the lack of ingenuity, innovation. It is the lack of access to either the finances or the lack of understanding to what it is that you have within your repertoire. How can you protect what you don't know you have? How do you know that you own a patent, or that you have the next and greatest innovation, or that you've made an improvement to make someone's lives better, if you can't identify it? If you don't own your brand and you're not able to license that technology or the brand that comes along with the business that you build. We are in a new time now. And in that time where we come from an industrial revolution, we are now looking at a place where everything is about intangible assets. Everything. When I talk about, I think there is, and I wanted to pull a statistic here. I think that at this point, according to the Ocean Tomo, intangible assets now comprise 90% of the value of S&P 500 companies. That means that's where the wealth is. That's where the assets are. And I tell my business owners that I work with, hey, have you identified and protected and created ownership of those creative and intellectual assets? But a lot of times that knowledge is lacking. So as you sit in these seats today, I want to, one, empower you to keep going. I want you to look at each one of these women that you are sitting around, that you are viewing on this screen, and understand that these are your colleagues. These will be your women and your partners in crime. You too, that all of you are touching so many lives, and you're getting ready to embark on a journey that is going to enable those who, as our ancestors did before, where they fought for our human rights, you are fighting for our civil rights. And so it's important to understand that you're going to help those identify the importance of what's in their repertoire, but you're also going to be able to talk knowledgeably about it. And that's the most important part. And so I asked this question: does anyone understand the importance truly of what's in front of them? I'll raise my hand because I do, and I hope that that you do. That this is a great opportunity, because we are going to be able for other minorities and for our community and other minorities to no longer be left behind. We're going to change and close that gap. And I'm very appreciative that Mr. Harity and Ms. Spector, and as well as Ayana, saw the importance of this change. And I employ you to also see the importance of this change. So as you join the IP Nerds Club today, and you begin to make those serious changes in your community, don't get lost. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't get discouraged. It is hard, but it's well worth it. And so a couple things that I wanted to address outside of the importance of what you are embarking on is just some of the things that I've been able to work on and why I find this field very important. It's important to me because I enjoy listening to innovators and why they're solving a problem and being able to help them with that realization of what they're about to bring to light, and creating a space, a safe space for them to feel like they can speak to me and know that I understand them, I feel them, and that their innovation can be explained in a way that is unique to what they created and their purpose. The other thing that I enjoy about this field the most is meeting the different people and what they get, what their motivation is. I encounter these different individuals and I get to understand that about them. But give me one second. And so one of the things that, like I said, that I enjoy, and then also it's learning. I'm a forever nerd. So as I encounter each innovation and each individual, I get the opportunity to learn something new. And that is important as well. So as you understand that this is a journey of forever learning, and you will be a forever student, but that's okay because you're going to empower others on that journey. And I encourage you to understand that, like I said, just as our ancestors, our forefathers, and they fought for human rights, this is tantamount to what you're about to embark on. And you're enabling us to establish our business rights and enable wealth and create generational change within our communities. And I implore you to champion this and go forth and conquer. And I'll leave it open for questions. Oh, go ahead. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Messina Morris and I'm a professor at Morehouse College. I am a biomolecular chemist by training. But I have known about patent law since I was an elementary school student. Mm-hmm. And I used to participate in Invention America competitions, but let's fast forward all the way till now. Mm-hmm. When you said that we still, even with knowledge, and just the information, it's not really enough, because I'm here right now because as a researcher, as someone who has built brands, not being able to protect it, not understanding that process, and not having someone to mentor me through it has been a pain point and a frustration. And so there's an African proverb that says, she who learns teaches. And so I decided that I would learn the inner workings of this so that I could give the right to understand to my students and to my community. So I thank you, Dawn, for that inspiration, because it helped me understand that this was the right path. But it has been very isolating and frustrating to not understand, and then to also have the knowledge but not the inner workings or the steps. So thank you for forging your pathway and sticking to it. I commend you for that, and for encouraging me to let me know that I'm in the right place and I'm in the right room today. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Definitely, most definitely. And I kudos to you. Like you said, taking the next step. I think a lot of times we will see something difficult and don't know how to come over those hurdles. And you have decided that no hurdle, nothing in front of me will stop me, and I will continue to forge ahead. So you are building, and especially as a professor, you are giving a great example to the students, to everyone that will encounter you. Because I promise, if you give me a moment of your ear, I'll be like, so tell me about your business. Tell me, what did you protect that? Did you do that? So now you're going to put yourself in that position for every conversation that you have. I promise you will live, breathe, and eat patent law and everything else around it. So that is awesome. But thank you. I saw that Brooke had her hand up.
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Dawn, for your words. I'm Brooke Johnson. I'm also a fellow chemist. I'm in my PhD, going into my fifth year at Princeton. And so I guess my question is, I found out about this field through my brother, who's a patent agent, and he studied physics. And he says that there's actually not a lot of Black inventors as his clients. And so I guess I'm wondering if you could tell us a story about how you actually have been able to patent someone that just an African American, or just a personal experience.
Most definitely. Now, I will tell you this, a lot of times, and being in full transparency, a lot of times the inventors that I encounter, because they are working on a smaller invention, it's more improvements and things to household items, but it is for them the importance of being able to say, I own this. So one of the things that I've worked on that I really enjoyed was a gentleman who actually created a meat press, but he created very uniquely, and it was historical for him and his family because it was something that they worked on together, and he wanted to be able to pass it down to his grandkids. The other thing that I've worked on, and this will help understand the importance, while it is a very small innovation, I worked on a patent with one of my colleagues that would, I'm sure everyone wraps their hair up at night, or put some type of, something on top of their head. He made a modification to the do-rag. And in that do-rag, it was where, of course, no one likes the fine lines that come across when you put your do-rag on. He modified it so that it would have padding here at the front, so that when you do the tying at night and you want to make sure your hair is laid and ready for the next morning so you can be sharp, he modified that. So there aren't very many Black inventors, and I want to change that narrative. It's not because they aren't innovative, it's because they don't know how to identify the innovation. So that's why what you're doing right now is important. So because that lack of access to the information, the field is convoluted. So let's not even pretend like it's not. However, you need someone who can instill the confidence in you to keep going. You need someone who can help you understand where there may be gaps within your innovation. Say, okay, you're not quite ready yet, or can help you understand the process of what it takes to even apply and identify. So, for example, like I said, being able to see that, okay, hey, this was a modification to a do-rag. If he would have said, oh, okay, well, I'm just putting my piece of foam here. It's nothing that I need to protect, but having the wherewithal to go to someone who can help him understand that that is an inventive concept. And even in reading the patents from it and being completely transparent, I could tell when you do and you'll learn what all of this means, the search to understand what was already available on the market. You could tell that the previous innovators did not have anyone within their own community to help them understand because of the way that the patent was drafted. If you read the patent, you could tell that they were afraid. They were dancing around the lines. They didn't know how to draw things out of the inventor. The inventor didn't feel comfortable. And that's important. So it's not necessarily, like I say, that we don't exist. It is that we don't know what to protect and when to protect it. And so just as much as I don't want to say Dr. Morris, I'll go with Dr. Morris.
Messina. You can just say Messina. Yes.
Messina, okay. I didn't listen, it's important that you do not butcher a name. So I wanted to get Messina, I wanted to give it the due respect that it was due and not butcher the name. But when she talked about it being isolating, it's isolating on both fronts. It's isolating to be an inventor and not know if you can trust someone considering the historical imbalance between cultures. It's isolating to be on this side as a patent practitioner and looking for someone that looks like me so I know that it's okay to keep going. It's not just, it's isolation on both sides. And what this program is aiming to do is to minimize the isolation on both sides. Because I can guarantee you as a chemist, and you said you are where again?
I'm in my PhD at Princeton. Yeah.
At Princeton. And I will take a gander that it's not a lot of people in the room that look like you. And getting over that hurdle wasn't easy, was it?
No, I am. Yeah, no, not at all.
Reach out, Brooke. I'm here.
Yeah, listen, this is a community right here. You don't have to feel ashamed to say, I sit in the field and I've been isolated. So what you're embarking on is minimizing that isolation. You're creating more seats at the table. You're saying, okay, I'm gonna pull my chair up, I'm gonna sit at the table and I'm gonna say it's a little bit difficult, but if I go through it and I pull 5 more women with me, then it doesn't feel isolating. This is the most STEM women I have ever seen in my entire life in one room. I'm excited just sitting in the room with you guys. I've never seen this in my entire career. So, like I said, once again, if reach out, lean on all of these women right here. And be excited and ecstatic that the information your brother gave you, that you and him are both getting ready to change that. That's what you lean on. Any other questions or comments? I'm just here for all the Black girl magic in the room. Like, I'm so excited. I want to be frank with you guys. I'm ecstatic. I too, Messina, I know what that isolation feels like. And you don't have it right now.
It's challenging because I also moved over from doing chemistry. So we teach in the metaverse. So I'm the director of Morehouse in the Metaverse, which is our metaversity program. So now I'm aligned with tech. And it's like, I still never see myself represented in the space. And having to then explain now, how do we align understanding how to protect digital technology. So that is really what my passion is, because how do we protect our brand now in the new space, in the metaverse, in Web3, with NFTs, and we have digital collections and assets and things that I've created and branded. And it's like, how do I really protect that now, and trying to really understand the nuts and bolts of it. So I am here to be a complete nerd and nerd all the way out. Y'all please tell me to be quiet, because
I can see your invisible pocket protector. I see it.
You see it, girl. It is there.
Mine is right here too. It's right here. IP Nerds for Life.
Life.
So that is wonderful.
We have a question from Juanice.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Juanice. I go to Howard Law. So my path is a little bit different, as in I was a nutritional sciences major. I started off as physiology and neurobiology when I wanted to go to med school, and when I decided law school, I switched it to nutrition. And my current internship for this summer is at an in-house company, and I'm working in like the life sciences aspect. So great, another nutrition major. So Dawn, for you, as who you were engineer, and I'm assuming you work in the mechanical side of patent law, I find that I like that. And I'm afraid that with my major, I'm only going to be limited to the life sciences side of patent law. So my question to you is there any way that I could, with my major, be in the mechanical side of patent law?
So definitely you have a duty to be technically competent when it comes to drafting and doing prosecution. Now, it really depends on what area of patent law you want to focus on. And I say this because patent law is a wide-ranging field. So it could be whether you're doing consultation work, whether you're doing direct drafting and patent and prosecution. You could also look at the litigation aspect of it, because when you start talking about litigation, your technical background is not as important, as long as you can understand and fully triage through the materials and understand the technology. And it really depends on how far in depth you go. My other thing is, because I am a forever lover of knowledge and understanding, I would say you could always look at taking some courses in engineering. You could look at getting some certifications. It's also about who you keep in your network. How do you learn about those different things and what your interests are? So I definitely understand you, and I encourage you to figure out, because I think the possibilities are definitely endless, depending upon, like I say, how you pursue it. And I mean, I did it backwards too. So just to, explain my background a little bit more, I actually did a philosophy. I started engineering, switched over to philosophy, left philosophy, graduated with philosophy, went to law school. I was literally sitting for my physics 2 with calculus exam, waiting on my bar results, and went back and finished engineering school. So it's never too late if you want to go back and pursue that, and you discover that's what you want. Because one of the great things about patent law is you are heavily defined by your technical aspect. But like I say, you can change that by looking at different ways that you explore your opportunities. Does that make sense? If that helps. I will also look at working for a company who kind of cross-pollinate, and they may support you in your ability to go back and finish and do your engineering degree, because with a lot of the classes that you've already taken, you may be able to jump right into the engineering school. So you're looking at 2 years. What's 2 years? And I mean that holistically. What are 2 years when you could be living in your passion and exploring what you really enjoy?
I chime in on that too. So it's all really at the very beginning of your career. Yes, your technical degree is going to be the thing that controls what type of work that they're going to give you, especially if you're going to draft patent applications and interact with the patent office. As you advance in your career, it's more about kind of your experience. What you'll learn over time is that you'll be able to quickly come up to speed on a lot of different types of technology. And it's just something that you have to do, because what you're going to do is represent a ton of different clients, and they have a ton of different technologies. And today you might be doing something that's software related. Tomorrow it's an engine. The next day it's something totally different than that. and you'll learn how do I get up to speed and be an expert at this while I'm drafting this patent application. You may lose the knowledge if you didn't draft another engine-related case in a year. You might lose some of that, but you'll learn how do I get back up to speed really quickly. And it's really that experience that will control your destiny. Beginning, it's going to be your technical background. One of our biggest clients is in the 5G space. And you'd think like from a technical perspective, it's probably people with electrical engineering degrees. Our best people drafting and prosecuting patent applications for that client have civil engineering degrees. A client could easily be disturbed by the fact that they don't have the right technical background to be doing the work. It's all about learning the technology. And again, you'll learn how to do it. It's all about reps and getting in the field. Take the cases that get assigned to you, learn them, and you'll learn pretty quickly, how do I become an expert at everything that's put in front of me? You'll learn that.
Agreed.
So I have a question. In terms of you, so you've been an inventor. How has being an inventor informed how you interact with inventors? Have you applied anything as an inventor to, yeah?
It definitely has. That's an excellent question, Ayana. It may, especially, it helped me understand how their mind works. A lot of times it helps me draw from them what I need, because a lot of they're very knee deep in it, and that's their baby. So there are little pieces and portions of it that they forget to kind of explain. So having been on the inventor side, I always tell them, okay, I need you to, even if you don't think it's important, share it with me so that I can help you understand and identify the important aspects of the innovation. Because what you may find is important because you spend a lot of time on it, it may be that little component that you think, oh, that's just a little piece, a little tinker that I did. That's the actual crux of the innovation. So using that to help you to fully draw out the innovation has been helpful. And then as an inventor, it helps me to a lot of times poke their brain and say, okay, well, I know you definitely see it for this use, but could you see it expanding this way? And really help them identify and understand that there could be different models or different iterations of with very small, minute changes, iterations of the very same product, but it can still be useful. So just being able to have that conversation with them and kind of take them out of their little inventor space. Because when something becomes your baby, you kind of sit with it for a while and kind of come up to the larger picture and say, hey, let's come up for air and let's look at it from a larger, big picture standpoint.
And unless someone has another question, I have another one. So as a law firm, you're owner of a law firm, so you're a founder and owner. What was that process like to kind of transition from being an employee to being a founder?
Realizing that there were departments in for an employer, and as the boss, as you grow your firm, I am marketing, I am the complaint department, I am the process improvement, it is all one kit and caboodle. So I have to understand that at all times, one, I am representing my brand. That's the first thing. I'm always a walking representation of what I believe in and what I stand for. The second thing is that I am forever needing to improve. That I can't think of my business from the typical way that you would normally address it. I look at a lot of, for example, automation with my firm. I look at a lot of different tools and I look at outside of other industries. So I find myself gleaning at other industries to figure out how to make the process as simplistic and as headache-free and understandable to my clients. And so going from where someone else did all those pieces, where someone else did the rainmaking, someone else did the marketing, someone else did the automation and found the tools. I am all of that. But in all of those pieces, I have to look at the perspective of the end user, which is my client, and what makes life easiest for them. So making that transition has been, I would say, the most difficult part. But the most enjoyable part of it is it's my process. It's my work. I get to say who, I get to say when, I get to design the process, I get to tinker with it. And I've had to step out of the way of perfection and aim for progress. And that's the most important piece. So when I've been able to do that and not sit with something and understand that I want my clients to experience the same way that I like to experience when I engage with the business, and I get to craft that process, that's the part that's most enjoyable. And when I get the feedback from my clients, or even from those I interact with when I volunteer and do different things, I get to say, you know what, this is important to me. I'm going to go and volunteer and be at this school. I'm going to actually spend time giving time back. No one gets to tell me when I can and cannot do that. That's the part I enjoy most, that flexibility as well.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Sorry, could you say? I do have, well, not really a question, but just a quick comment. I just want to thank Dawn for being with us this evening. And just ladies, all of you ladies, just seeing, like Dawn said, all of this Black girl magic we have going on here. I am a part of Harity and the diversity subcommittee that Ayana leads for this program. And it's just, I am a support person. I'm not a practitioner. However, I've been in this field for a long time. And I think Dawn was saying she hasn't seen so many, so many Black women in one space in IP ever, as far as practitioners. So you ladies are inspiring and just trailblazers, really. And I have 2 little girls. So even though I'm not a practitioner, it's just something else that I can just inspire them to be. And you ladies are leading the way. It's like fighting back tears over here. It just feels so good. Like, I mean, just seeing all of your faces and listening to you. And Dr. Morris is a professor. Then Dawn, she owns her own IP. Like she has an IP firm. Like I said, these are just things that you're like unicorns, and it's just beautiful. And I love it. And like I said, you're inspiring to me. And I'm probably older than most of the people on this call, but you are inspiring to me. And like I said, I am going to you are going to pour that into other young Black girls. And like I said, people you don't even know you're going to reach by doing this. And like I said, I have 2-year-old twins here, 2 little girls. And so, like I said, it just makes me feel good. It's just, you guys are amazing. And thank you for being a part of the program. And thank you, Dawn, for talking with us this evening. That was all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. I totally agree. Don't get me started. So, Dawn, I do have one more question. So these women are eventually part of the program is an employment opportunity to partner with a law firm. What is law firm like? So if you had to step back from, now that you're a founder, but just going back, what is that life like? What could they kind of look out for? What should they expect? How do they get a mentor at the law firm, a sponsor, ally? How do they get promoted? Like, what is that process like for them?
Definitely. So I think the first thing is to say the difference between a mentor and a sponsor, and you should have both. I do encourage all these women on this call to have a board of directors. You should have a personal board of directors. You should have a mentor. You should have a sponsor. You should have someone you can go to and say, hey, I'm having a bad day. I need a pep talk. You should have someone. And so when we talk about a mentor is someone who's going to guide you and help you understand what your career path should be. So going back to the young lady who said about nutrition and she wanted to kind of get into the mechanical space, find a mentor who's in that space who can help you. Now, the difference is you also want a sponsor, because the sponsor is a tad bit different. They go a step further than a mentor. That sponsor is going to be the person that's going to stick their neck out for you when there are opportunities. They're going to put your name in rooms where you aren't. So you always want to have one of those on you in your personal board of directors. You also want someone who can kind of check you as well, like I said, to make sure that when you make decisions, or when you and the boss don't agree, you want someone who can say, okay, this is a different perspective. This is how you should really approach this, that advice person. So always keep at least that minimum 3 of people on your board of directors. And that's irrespective of where you are, whether you're a law firm or corporate. And so stepping back and looking at the corporate and looking at how do you approach a law firm, you approach a law firm understanding that every opportunity is an opportunity to learn. It may not necessarily be what you exactly want to do, but a no means that you're foreclosing on the opportunity to be good at something, and that there are going to be some transferable skills that you will need to gain. And so when you say yes, that puts you in opportunity and visibility. Don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to ask for different opportunities. And so that is how you excel and grow on a personal as well as on a professional level. So I think that is very important. You also want to try and do different things. Don't stick to what's in your wheelhouse. That's the most important thing there, because when you say yes to different things, you get outside your wheelhouse and you get a new opportunity, but you also have the ability to learn and understand where your true zone of genius lies. You have to learn how to operate and resonate in that, and you can, and it pivots. Be ready to pivot. Be ready to work with different people. Be ready to champion new things. And I think that alone is what law firm life is like. And at the beginning, it's long hours because you're learning. I mean, just being frank with you, it will be great. You have to understand how to build that mojo, that confidence, and it comes with hard work and rooter. There's no way around it. There's no shortcut. It really doesn't exist. I wish it did. I wish I could wave a magic wand and we all be there. But there's so many things that you learn on that path. And be willing to explore and be willing to give yourself grace and say, okay, once again, like I said before, even as a founder of a firm, progress versus perfection. So one thing I will also encourage you to do, I remember reading a book by Jeffrey Pfeiffer, it's Power, Why Some Have It and Others Don't. And he will often talk about one of the classmates who did really well and was able to really engage with their particular classmates. And although at the outset they had a group project, and at the outset she knew the answer, but she didn't jump right in and tell them. She let them kind of go on their path. And as she let them go on their path, then when they were ready to receive what she had to bring to the table, that's when she brought up her ideas for changing the way the project was done. And so be timely. When I say that, that means sometimes you may know the right answer, but sometimes, especially in a law firm, it's a lot of group effort. So you have to leave room for others to be able to shine and do those things as well. And when the time is right, especially to gain them on your side, to help people understand that you are a team player, timing is everything. And then the other thing he talks about in that book is he would keep a do better file. I still have a do better file. It's when I go through something and I may have, I don't really like the way that shaped up. I didn't like the way that happened, how that transaction encounter went. I'll put it in my do better file. Okay, Don, you have twice as many, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should be listening as twice as much as you are talking. You need to learn how to be quiet. You need to learn how to pause and give people time, the ability to digest. So I keep a do better file for myself so that I can monitor my progress and things that I want to see myself improve on. And that is a part of being in a law firm, is that improvement as you encounter different people and work with on different projects. It's not, like I say, you're not looking for perfection. You're looking for progress for each time you encounter something. So even when you draft your first application in the law firm, the partner is going to tear it up. He's going to say, hey, no, she's going to say, no, that's not right. Because everybody has a unique drafting style and you have to find your voice. But don't be discouraged, because you're going to learn from that. So what do? You say, okay, well, next time, okay, I noticed that this, and this, make little sticky notes, do whatever you can to create that progress for yourself, and be okay with the criticism. It's okay to be criticized. It's okay to accept it. And then having that self-reflection and say, did I really, or could I improve? What can I do? Because the only person you're trying to be better than is the person you were yesterday. And that's regardless of where you're working.
Thanks, Dawn. Sydney, you have a question?
Hi, yes. So I thank you so much for sharing everything, Dawn. And I just want to thank everyone for like creating this program. This is truly incredible. I actually come from a pharmaceutical background. I've now currently work a part of two different pharmaceutical industries, and I just want to ask what like is the not necessarily the difference, but where is the personalization that comes into IP coming from a pharmaceutical background where we kind of have to do everything exactly the same or else that's completely not allowed? How does becoming a part of like IP law allow more of a personalization in your work life, if that makes sense?
Expound a little bit more about what you mean, personalization.
Like being able to express what you enjoy doing in your work life versus being in a very cookie cutter sense of you have to do it this way and there's no other way you can do it.
So I think that when you talk about patent law and you talk about laws in general, that's somewhat cookie cutter. You can get somewhat, in my opinion, you can get diverse when you talk about the way you approach something and the legal strategy that you build. I think that that's where the personalization comes in. When you talk about thinking outside of the box, you're bringing in your cultural differences. You're able to actually impart that when you talk about the strategy and what path it takes. But the other way that you can see that in your personalization is if you're in the pharmaceutical industry, there's something that's personal to you. So you could find, for example, as she mentioned, I am a published author in diabetes. That work came from me from watching my dad stick his finger every day. So that's why it became a personal passion for me. So when you talk about being in the pharmaceutical industry, is there a particular disease or a particular illness that is very important to you? So you can make ways there and actually pursue those passions and identify new ways based on your cultural background and what may be needed. So a lot of times, and I'm sure you've seen this, where you've seen a commercial and you wanted to say, they must didn't have anybody Black on their board of directors to tell them that wasn't a good idea. You've seen it. So now you're going to bring that same energy. You're going to say someone that culturally, they don't understand it's a long felt need because they don't sit where I sit. They don't understand they need to pursue this line because there's a whole market. We make up, I think when I was doing some research, we make up, I think about 1.6 trillion in spending power. But where we represented when it comes to things that particularly plague our community. So by pouring your efforts there and helping pharmaceuticals companies understand when it even comes down to clinical trials, there's a lot of lack of access. I think I'm part of CHIPS, and they even had an initiative where there was a lack of access for Black women who had breast cancer to clinical trials. That's where you come in. You come in and bringing that perspective because now you have a seat at that table where they understand where they should be pouring their research dollars and their efforts to benefit us, considering the amount of spend that we have as a community. Does that make sense? That's where your impact is.
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
I love that answer. Does anyone else have any other questions? If you want to put it in chat or Messina?
Hi, everyone again. So I don't necessarily have a question, but I did want to make a statement. So to John, you are really one in a million. Like your story already had me crying. I had to go ahead and pull out the napkins. But what you are doing is really special. it's special for me to also be in this room and to see everyone here who has such passion. And I've often been a unicorn. So I'm proud to see all of you unicorns here. And John, I thank you for the pivot you made, because some people see their life flash before their face and still don't realize that humanity can't wait for them to make a change. And you saw that. And so I'm grateful that you survived and that you survived it for such a time as this. So thank you so much for your courage and bravery and your sponsorship, because you stuck your neck out and spoke up for a demographic that is often unseen and seen as invisible. But I can tell you, we are the workhorses in our families, in our communities, in our career pathways. And it is heart-wrenching to always be invisible. So thank you for seeing us. I say that, and I'm gonna stop before I cry. And Elaine, today I had a conversation with several people, and I've been having this conversation often. Y'all, I'm a mom of 5 sons. 2 of my sons have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. They're 14 and 5. My 14-year-old has moderate support needs, and my 5-year-old, he's high functioning, and you never would know. But that, and being a career woman, and I've often had to hide motherhood and even womanhood from the public eye, because I'm often overlooked for opportunities, or I'm often seen as if I have too much on my plate to be able to handle it. And so I've always pushed back on that, even to the point of overextending myself in ways to be excellent, because I know the possibilities and I know the legacy that I leave. But I say to you, Elaine, how refreshing it was, because when she said go friend her on LinkedIn, and I went, and the first thing that I saw was lawyer, but the second thing I saw was mom. And I see a lot of corporate CEOs and people in the tech field and people who I talk to that are males who will often put dad first on their LinkedIn profiles. And I know so many women who don't ever mention the word mom on theirs because they're too afraid of the backlash and the isolation and what the retribution. It almost seems as if you're penalized for being a mother. And so literally after having had this conversation, right before I jumped in with my sister-in-law in the kitchen again about the difference between being a person who is a mom and a wife and a woman and what our business profiles look like, you encouraged even me, because on my profile, I talk about my work life, but I don't necessarily talk about, like, it's not in my header. You know what I mean? And it's in your header. And I think that's a bold, we all grown in here. Anybody got no kids on here? Bad A move. I'll just say it like that. And I love that. So you have encouraged me to stop kind of sweeping some of the things under the rug, because for so long people made me feel like I'm supposed to be ashamed that I have a lot of kids, a large family, and, you know, even children with different needs, right? So thank you, because that, I'm gonna stop. But thank everybody for being here, for showing up, because I'm pushing through a very long day and I know you all are. And, just thank you for being in the room. That's it. I'm gone.
And so
thank you so much. That was beautiful.
That is
Thank
awesome.
you. Go ahead, Dawn.
I was going to say, no, and Sydney, when you say, well, where does my personality fit in? Dr. Masana just gave you a way for it to fit in right into the community, the needs that are needed. Where do we see exactly where that fits? And to even back to your point, you feel okay to be human today. And that's okay. And that's how it should be. That should not be the anomaly. That should be the standard, because you are more than your career. You are a woman, you are a mother, you are human. And we have been brainwashed to believe that the only way to be successful is to be a robot, is to hide who you are, to only sound a certain way, to look a certain way, to do certain things. You have valuable contributions no matter how many kids you have. It makes you even to me, it makes you even more of a team player because you know how to manage a house and a career. You're juggling 5 kids. So I want you to pat yourself on the back for continuing to move forward despite the hurdles that have been placed in front of you. We all are sitting here with hurdles, but we're deciding that those don't define us. That we're going to keep moving, that we're going to show the world a new generation of where I am a Black woman and I am human and I am still able to make waves in society. And because of the programs like this, you are not only, like I say, the biggest, like no tears and trying not to cry. It's not just you though. It's not just you. You are changing when I say your entire community and conversation, this is not to be taken lightly. This opportunity is not to be taken lightly. I know it won't be easy. You're going to be doing, like she said, it's going to be long hours. But the reward is worth it. And that's what I want you guys, anytime it gets hard, to remember the reward. Call me when it get hard. And I do mean call me. Because I'm going to put something in your ear. I'm going to put the spirit on in your ear. Because I need you not to give up. We need you not to give up. Because one thing I didn't share was I didn't have this. When I got ready to do this, I was making trips, making phone calls, looking on LinkedIn, but I was piecemealing the patent law program because I couldn't afford it. I created my own study program. Someone had to give me the materials, and it was right when we made the AIA switch. So then I had to piecemeal what somebody gave me. Then I had to go and pull what the USPTO published about AIA. I would read the MPEP. I would go and print off questions upon questions, and I created my own study schedule. I didn't have anybody to bounce anything off of. You were like, you got a community right here, and you got the resources. Only thing missing is you and the willpower. And I know each of you have it based on where you are right now. That is all. I'll get off my soapbox now.
Elaine, you had a comment?
You know, it's funny because when I started the practice of law, when I had a family, you weren't allowed to talk about your children. I mean, if I mentioned my children, other associates would look at me and say, like, what are you doing? Like, that is a big no-no. So you get to a point in your life and like, you're right. If you have kids and you're managing a household, especially if they're teenagers right here, you've got to deal with so many issues with the kids because they don't listen. I'm like, hey, when I go to the office and ask my assistant to help me, I don't get complaints usually. So if you can manage your kids and get them on board and, get them engaged, that's a tremendous asset. And so what I've learned, in the last few years, especially, is that the more I share about myself and my personal experiences and the struggles I have day to day between life and work balance and, more of who I am as a person, I don't really hold back. I let people know, and that people can relate to that. So the more you share about yourself, I think the better, because you're not a robot, like Dawn said. We're not, they want us to be robots. We're not robots. We're not going to be robots. And, I encourage you all to really be yourselves and let people know, you can be a little vulnerable and let people know more about you. It's a good thing. I found that's been my experience. It's a good thing. So, we have lives outside of work. We're not just, worker bees. So thank you for sharing that, Messina. I'm like getting my tissues here too. And also I want to say, Dawn, I heart Dawn. I mean, Dawn, you're amazing. Absolutely amazing. Very inspirational. Just what a fabulous encouragement to all these women and to all of us here, really. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Do we have any other questions, feedback, comments?
I have a quick question for Dr. Dawn, for Dawn, actually. I mean, you said something earlier on that the problem is not that we don't have innovators, it's that people cannot, our community cannot recognize when they have that that moment, that invention. So I mean, as a business owner, like you said, you wear different hats, you know, you're a rainmaker, making decisions, helping pattern those ideas. What are some of the, I guess, some of the strategies or some of the things that you've done to actually, or we can do to actually bring people to that point where they know that, yes, this is an idea and I need to protect it?
So I always start with education. I explain the process. There's never a time I meet with a client that I don't go over all three types of IP. So I'm going to talk about whether or not you have copyright, patents, or trademarks, and help you identify. So by having that conversation, I empower them to have the conversation with me, because I'm telling them how to identify and understand what could be sitting within their assets. So that is the very first thing. And I always give examples. I think that's the most important part I give outside of the education, is the examples to say, okay, this is what this does and this is how it works. Do you have anything like this? And going back to what, not one of my necessarily strong points, but I listen. I listen at how they do things. I let them tell me their story. So by hearing their story, and because I'm able to identify those different aspects, I'm able to draw it out of them. So once again, it's being able to identify within the conversation. Sometimes it doesn't come out the way you think it will. It comes out through just having genuine conversation about how they function, how they do their business, what their day-to-day is like, what they want to do, what their goals are for the business. And by doing that, we identify the different levels of assets or different types of assets that they own. Does that help, or does that answer the question?
No, it helps. Thanks.
Did you have a follow-up?
I have a follow-up.
Okay.
So I guess as a businesswoman, again, like, how do you balance running your own firm, generating revenue, and helping just I won't say a random person, but honoring the ingenuity that you see in your community, but these people may not have allocated funds to protect something that they've created?
So when you say, are you saying time-wise, or are you meaning, what do you just clarify for me?
Yeah, I'm just meaning money-wise. So I work in pharma too, and I see things that need to be protected and patented all the time. And usually they just throw money at it and it gets done. But when I'm thinking about just something I see my dad create that I might want to help him protect, he might not have allocated the funds to go through that process. So how do you, are you basically doing this for people for free? Are you?
So no, not necessarily free. So in all honesty, I actually have a full-time job as well. So that allows me, because it's not my main source of income, it allows me to do things at a lower cost. That's the first thing. The other thing is that I do accept for some of my inventors payment plans, so that they have the opportunity to build up on the wealth. We talk about it. I always start with a strategy call. So within that, and I help them prioritize, where do you start? So having more affordable rates. Some of the things I also do is I will let them outsource some of the things if they can do it for cheaper. So for example, if they already have drawings, things like that, different components, I may outsource or allow them to outsource so that it's more financially feasible. Or either I try and find something that's financially feasible for them. The other thing is, and in all fairness, unless you're getting into computer tech and you're talking about, I think you have to think about it not from the pharmaceutical side. Unless your dad is running a whole chemistry shop and analyzing medicine and things in his garage, he's going to have more your day-to-day application. So with that, you're not going to run into as many costs either. So for example, like I said, it doesn't cost as much. The way patenting works is the more technologically developed it is, of course, the more money and time you have to spend on it. And I'm being honest with a lot of my inventions. I'm not encountering what you're seeing at more like the C-suite and corporate level when I deal with them. I'm handling more of your day-to-day mechanical and electrical innovations that don't require as much investment when you talk about going high level into the technological realm. So it's easier to work with and talk about price point from there. And then also giving them the option of piecemeal. So as I'm not, like I said, you'll learn more, but we may start with a provisional patent, right? And that gives them time, that gives them a year time frame to work up the capital to go to a non-provisional, which is the full patent. So I think about that pricing structure and it's built into that. And then as far as, like I say, the balance, when you talk about doing it all and finding time to pour into that, you make the time for what you want. And one of the things as a business owner that I'm learning, and I'm sure that any woman here has learned, is fluid. So there may be times where I am going to spend a lot more time with my business than I am with my family. But then there are also times so that I'm able to do some of that pro bono work, do some of that reach out, do some of the workshops so that people are able to identify and understand. And then there may be times where I am able to pivot and say, okay, right now my business has to take a back seat and therefore my family has to come first. So it's the ebb and flow. It's not a constant where I'm constantly pouring into my business 24/7. It's the ebb and flow. So, but when I can do, I do. And where I can especially save costs for my inventors, I try my best to do that as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That's helpful.
Okay, great. So if we don't have any additional questions, I just want to say that John and Elaine know I'm really very strict on my agenda, and I couldn't go along any further. I think this conversation was so important. It was so necessary. Thank you so much, Dawn, for just all of your insights and everything that you brought to the table. And for everyone who spoke, and even in the chat, like the chat was on fire, basically. So many people were commenting. So I'm just really, really grateful that each and every one of you has participated and been a part of this program and are going to be a part of this program. There are a few things that we have to touch on, but what I will do is create a separate orientation. So we should have had like 30 minutes just for orientation about the program. But what I'll do is I'll send out a calendar invite for that at a separate date. But I do think that the direction that the launch took was necessary. And I just appreciate everyone's candor, all the questions and everything. I would just like to ask Dawn, if you could give us a few words to take us home on this and just close us out, I would be extremely thankful.
Most definitely. Be you, be authentic. Be a woman, be human. The industry needs you. Your community needs you. We need you. I need you. You have something valuable to bring to the table. And I look forward to learning what you contribute to not only this field, but to our community as a whole. And I look forward to working with each of you and being able to call you one of my patent sisters. But more than anything, I am grateful that you are going to raise the 1.7%. Welcome to the elite club of IP Nerdum. And I challenge you to go forth and conquer this world and look for progress and not perfection. Give yourself grace and room to grow, and lean heavily on each of the faces that you see here, and take this opportunity as serious as you can, because if not you, if not now, then when?